So Wakas Latif says, I have a keyword in auto and same in manual. Why auto keyword always generate more sales than manual one? That's a good question. So you have a keyword in auto campaign and also in manual campaign. So why is the auto keyword getting more sales than the manual one? Amazon's algorithm is just going to favor one. So if you can imagine, like if you download the bulk template. So if you're in Advertising Manager and you download the bulk template, you probably notice that, like, every keyword, every ad group, every campaign, every ad, everything has an ID to it. So your campaign has an ID, your ad group has an ID, and that's well, in the case of an auto, it wouldn't have for the keyword itself, but like the targeting would. They would have IDs associated to it. And then also in the manual campaign, you have for that keyword, assuming you're going after that particular keyword, it would have its own ID. And so Amazon's algorithm has decided this particular ID is going to more likely result in the sale than that one. And so from there, you would have the ability to make the sales. Does it really matter if it's coming from an auto or a manual? So that's why oftentimes here at My Amazon Guy, we say never negate a good keyword. And the reason for that is because if sales are coming in, the sales are coming in. For whatever reason, the algorithm in its infinite wisdom has decided that that particular keyword is going to be more likely to get sales in the auto campaign. So it's probably giving more impressions to it and probably more favorable impressions in more favorable locations. And that's probably why it's getting the sales. So at the end of the day, if you're getting the sales and they're profitable, you don't have as much control over bidding as you would in the manual campaign, but you're still getting the sales. So at a certain point, you have to ask yourself the question, does it really matter if I'm getting the sales? Other than I'd like to have control, which the algorithm kind of takes control anyway. So that's my stance there. So, all right. Baba says, hi, Baba. I am stuck in a serious issue. My client has very low margins as now on the stock, et cetera, and our target tacos is 5%. That's really low. Now he wants us to make a sheet where we will tell him that this spend, he will make this revenue with the target tacos. How would I make the forecast based on his tacos? Okay. So this one, actually, the sheet he's asking for is fairly simple. So he probably just wants to see, like, okay, so if let's say we spend $1,000, if we have a 5% tacos, what would our sales actually look like? Now, this is not to get into whether or not this is actually realistic or whatever, but at least to create the sheet, which is a good exercise, I think, for everybody. So whether you're dealing with clients or just to say, hey, what do I have to spend to get the certain sales I want from my particular, so for this ad spend, what would my sales be if my target tacos is X or Y? And you can play with this. And you can create a spreadsheet to come up with all kinds of different scenarios. But very simplistically, let's just take $1,000 of ad spend. So let's say we have $1,000. And then if we spent that at a 5% tacos, what would our sales be? So you could take divided by and literally just divide by those tacos. So 5% would be 0.05. So that means if you're spending $1,000 in ads to get a 5% tacos, you would have to have $20,000 in sales. Now, again, that may or may not be reasonable or realistic. 10, 15, 20, 25% is not unrealistic. So if you're being really aggressively low on tacos, you're probably also super lowering your bid, which you may not get a lot of impressions. So you might achieve the tacos goal you're after. Hopefully they have good organic rank, which they would have to if they want this. But that would be my case. Then you also have to have the conversation with, is this achievable? And then also take a look at, like, okay, in order to achieve that, now you have a spreadsheet that says, okay, $1,000, $2,000, $5,000, however you want to break it down. You could say this ad spend, this is the sales based on 5% tacos. And then you could also do the same exercise with, let's say, 10% tacos. So then you could take like $1,000 divided by 10% is actually $10,000. So you could kind of, or $10,000 in sales. So you can kind of play with it there, and hopefully that helps you at least create a scenario. Now, whether or not that is forecastable or realistic is a whole different ballgame, and you're going to have that conversation with that client. Or if you're the seller and you're putting this in spreadsheet, everything looks great in the spreadsheet. But as Mike Tyson said, well before the big fight with Jake Paul, he said, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. Everybody has a spreadsheet until you actually go out there and turn the campaigns on. So just keep that in mind. All right. Then Sheikh Ubad says, good day, sir. I want to test 2 PPC videos in my sponsored video ads on the same keywords in 2 different campaigns. What should my strategy be to avoid cannibalization? My question is why? You could theoretically put them in at 2 different bids. Maybe that's what you're trying to do. Test out, can I show up and place them at A and all, on page 1, and also maybe show up, page 5 or something, which is probably not going to do quite as well. You could do that, but my question is, why not just, if you have, let's say you have 10 keywords you're going after. This is just for illustration. Instead of putting the same 10 keywords in 2 campaigns, maybe put 5 in one campaign, 5 in the other. It at least gives you a little bit more control on your budget. So that would be my suggestion there. All right, moving along. AWAS Turan says, how can I decrease ACoS? That is a good question. So you either one of 2 things, kind of going back to our, discussion earlier about you just take a calculator or a spreadsheet and you can play with some numbers. To decrease ACoS, simplistically, and I'll get into a little bit more on this, but simplistically, you either increase sales at the same or lower ad spend, or you lower ad spend at the same or higher sales. So that's really what it comes down to. So now, in practicality, to action that, and not just talking about the equation to use, you would have to have less ad spend. So you'd have to have a higher conversion rate or a higher click-through rate. Now, here at My Amazon Guy, we always preach have a more clickable listing, because at the end of the day, it's easier to 3x your traffic than it is to 3x your conversion. So to go from, let's say, a 1% to a 3% click-through rate is more realistic than to go from a 10% to a 30% conversion rate on the page. So take a look at your main image. Can you add some more keywords there? And then, can you add a keyword onto the main image? So use your packaging and things of that nature. In fact, let me give an example here. So let's pull up our good old friend Amazon here just a sec. All right, so let me show Amazon on my screen. So, all right, let's just use this one, Colgate. I like this one because this is Amazon using the exact tactic that I talk about. So this one here. So here you kind of have to do the math mentally. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. You need 4 here. What is that? Here they tell you it's a pack of 6. It's a pack of 6, but it's most obvious because they put it on the box. Now, this box, from what we can tell, and I actually know people that say they've bought this, it's just that you don't get a box that says pack of 6. That box actually looks like they made it in Canva. That doesn't even look like real packaging. That looks like they just kind of photoshopped on the word pack of 6. Because if you scroll down, this is one way to check. If we look in the reviews, it looks like it comes, see, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. So 2 columns of 3. So that's how you get your pack of 6, not in a box that literally says pack of 6. And you can see other people posting, their pictures of what they got, and it does not look like what's on the package. Now, do you think one of these people complained? I didn't get a box that says pack of 6. No. And people might be saying, well, maybe Colgate gets away with this because they're a big name brand. But you come over here, who's it sold by? Amazon. This is 1P. This is first party sale by Amazon. So Amazon is doing tactics like this of adding keywords into the main image. And so I wouldn't go crazy on this. And you want to at least, this is kind of admittedly a gray area. Worst case scenario, they're probably not going to suspend your account or even your listing. They're probably not going to showcase that image. I've tried these type of things before, and oftentimes if they don't like the image, and it's not like a person looking at it, it's usually a bot, all they do is just showcase the other image. So the other image that was maybe there previously becomes the main image, or they just move the second image to the main image spot. So that would be one way you could get it. Because if you're, again, always think of yourself in the shoes of the customer. If you're like scrolling through here, like, how do I know? Oh gosh, I want to get a bunch of toothpaste, but how do I know what I'm actually getting? Okay, is that 4 or is it really 8? Like whatever. Oh, this is clear as day. Clarity equals clicks and purchases. So here, pack of 6. It's right in your face, and it's Colgate. So, I mean, this doesn't even look like packaging. This looks like a stock image of a box that people would use for moving. Like they borrowed this box from U-Haul or something. So that's just my personal opinion. So that's one way you can decrease your tacos is by by increasing your sales. And by increasing your sales, one way to do that is to increase your click-through rate. Because at the end of the day, although this is my own personal opinion, although Amazon doesn't advertise it this way, you're really paying for cost per mil. And cost per mil, if you're not familiar, is CPM, which is cost per 1,000 impressions. Because at the end of the day, only so many people are typing in toothpaste, and Amazon does not actually care who gets what placement. They like here, value 4-pack. I'm assuming that probably doesn't actually say value 4-pack that big. Like all these little value 3-packs. I bet in some cases, maybe they do, but it's not yellow and not like, and this one it even looks like it's covering up like part of the packaging itself. Like I'm going to bet some of these little badges don't even exist on that package. But when you're the customer, you want to quickly make a decision. And Amazon does not care who gets the sale. They just want to like, if whoever looks for toothpaste, what ASINs are more likely to become a sale? And if you don't get the click, you will not get the sale. So in order to get the sale, you must get the click. So Amazon cares about, I think when they look at conversion rate, it's not from, who gets on the page and then purchases. It's not that conversion rate. It's who gets the sale from the impression to the click. So that's what they really care about. So if you're more likely to get them a sale, they're more likely to show you. And if you don't believe that, you can always go into Amazon Experiments, look at the conversion rates they give you there, and there's such low numbers. You can just do the math and realize, okay, it must be click-through rates times basically session percentage or whatever you want to call the on-page conversion rate. So that would be my tips on how to lower. You asked for ACoS and I gave you tacos. Same kind of thing. Because at the end of the day, Amazon wants more sales. And if you give them more sales, you're going to have more favorable cost per clicks as well. All right. So Mavi says, Yahoo, how are you? I'm doing well. Please answer my question. Hopefully I did answer your question. When I say I'm doing well, I didn't see another question there was related to PPC. All right. So then Sound Escape says, I haven't done much to get the extra sales. I believe it's because my products are more giftable and it's gifting season, updating my PPC weekly, thus reducing ACoS. Okay. Yeah. So I have very giftable products too. This is kind of my big season. So, I'm not even into the busiest part of the busy season. I tend to find, because there's a lot of last minute shoppers and they tend to wait until they kind of have to if they want it to show up on time. So it's usually kind of mid-December is where I get the bulk of my sales, or the biggest, or my busiest part of the busy season, I should say. So there is that. Now, if you have very giftable products, I would say if you were updating PPC weekly, I would start updating it more often. So if you're getting 3-4x the sales, you're probably also having 3-4x the ad spend, which means you have 3-4x the data. And so now is a good time to start to optimize. Don't get too crazy, because sometimes people will, click on something, they'll either add it to cart, or they'll add it to a list, or just mentally, say, okay, I'm buying my daughter, I'm buying my husband, I'm buying whoever this particular product. They do that. And so they may not buy it for another couple of weeks, which wouldn't show up in your attribution, but just know that now is a good time to probably get on a more regular. If you were doing weekly before, I would start doing it more often. Even if you're not doing giftable products, I would do it more often. Now, just because between now and about the 19th, sales will be way higher than they are the rest of the year. And then also you want to set yourself up for success, because what happens is the week after Christmas, and then the first, let's say 2-3 weeks of January, are busy as well, because a lot of people get gift cards and they're redeeming their gift cards because they're excited. Oh, I have this gift card, I can go use this. Now, people redeem those gift cards year round, but the bulk of them tend to be within the first, 2 to 3 weeks after Christmas. And so you want to set yourself up for also to be profitable with having well optimized PPC campaigns during that time period too. So it's not just the holiday season we're looking at. I tend to find January is my best month outside of November, December. So we have good times ahead. So enjoy them and make sure you're set up to be as profitable as possible. All right. Raja Wakes Latif asks, I have a keyword in auto and manual. Why always generate more sales with less ACoS? Oh, I think I already answered this question earlier. Sometimes the algorithm just picks one particular place where they're going to give more sales. And so it kind of is what it is. All right. So then Sound Escape says, woohoo. So this is Sound Escape. I gave a free mag school course too. So if you've not already, make sure Sound Escape, send me, make sure notate you are Sound Escape. You get our free mag school course, which I'll give you the coupon code. I'll have someone on our team give you the coupon code, but just email podcast@myamazonguy.com. Raza Koso asks, hello, sir. I'm new to PPC. I want advice as to where I can learn and then practice it. Appreciate your response. One, I'll give you the free places to start. Just look up PPC on the My Amazon Guy YouTube channel. Also, shout out to Mina Elias. I also host a bunch of summits, which generally my summits, almost half the content tends to be PPC related. Sign up for my summits. Quick shout out for that. Although the summits are usually generally paid for, but sign up for people in the space, whether it's I'm trying to think who all has YouTube channels, but Mina Elias, My Amazon Guy YouTube channel, on LinkedIn, follow a lot of the people that you respect, and get some free content there, and then start picking someone's advice and actually do tests. Now, don't say, okay, this person said do this, this person said do this, this person said do this, this person said do that, and then try to do everything all at once. Do small tests in batches. The best way to learn PPC is to actually get some road rash and go out there and start making bids, making mistakes, and do it that way. Because if you don't at least start practicing, you'll never level up. Now, if you want more leveling up, you could take the My Amazon Guy PPC course over at Mag School. So you go to mag-school.com, or shout out and a completely, what's the word I'm looking for? Shameless plug for ending tonight at midnight Eastern time. We have a special Black Friday, Cyber Monday deal with our SOP library. All of our best learning resources. A lot of these are ones we actually hand to our teams to generate $1.2 billion per year on Amazon. So just head on over to myamazonguy.com/enroll. All right. So from there, let's get to some more questions. All right. Oh, we got a lot of good questions coming in here. All right. Grigory Lungu says, hello. I find that my sponsor brand videos is performing much better than the sponsored products. So I thought to shift my focus more on running video ads and push more budget. Is that a good strategy to go? Thank you. Well, think of it this way. There's only so many placements. There's a lot more placements with sponsored products than there are sponsored brand video. You might be doing well as sponsored brand video because there's at least a little bit more of a barrier to entry. Like you have to actually create a video. Now, even Amazon gives tools to help with that. You can use Canva. There's lots of ways you could create very basic videos to at least have a video going, but you still have to do extra work, and it's harder than setting up a campaign, whether it be an auto campaign or just saying, here's a bunch of keywords, go for it. So because there's more work involved in sponsored brand video, not as many people do it. So you might not have as much competition. And depending on your niche, there might be even less people doing it. So just keep that in mind. That might be why your sponsored products is doing better. Or sorry, sponsored brand video is doing better at sponsored products, but I would not give up on sponsored products. I would say start optimizing sponsored products, and maybe you have to go longer tail, meaning if you're going after wrist rest, if that's the word people use for this, keyboard wrist protector. I don't even know the word you would use to describe it, but it's like the thing I put my wrist on when I'm typing. If you have something like that, like maybe you have to go for black wrist holder, or whatever the word is. Trying to think of a better example. You might have to go for longer tail keywords, or if you're selling a calculator, maybe you have to, say gray calculator or calculator for math class or something. You have to look up keywords that are longer and not just 2-3 words long, maybe 5 to 7 words long. They oftentimes don't get anywhere near the number of impressions and clicks and sales, but the sales they do get tend to be more profitable because they're much more targeted. So if you're not doing well with sponsored products, I would take a look at okay, is your strategy to go after shorter tail keywords because they just get a lot of impressions and there's a lot of clicks and there's a lot of search traffic for it? Or does it make more sense to say, I'm going to go after more keywords, but that are longer tail and more specific, because they're also likely to be more relevant. So think about that. And then also, a lot of times people don't go after a lot of those, so you have less competition with the longer tail keywords. So, and you could always take a look at your sponsored, what's the word I'm looking for? Your sponsored, your search term report, excuse me. What sounds like you look in your search term report and look at the customer search terms, and that might clue you into some of the longer tail keywords. Because if you're using broader phrase, oftentimes it's not just like the 2-3 word keyword that you show up for, it's the longer search phrases. And so you can look and see what are some opportunities there. And maybe you want to promote some of those keywords, even if they're not even getting sales. Maybe you just want to promote some of those keywords so you have at least a little bit more control over them and their bids, because then over time you might start getting more sales. And the nice thing is, because it's the holiday season, everything is magnified. And over the next 3 weeks, and then even as I mentioned earlier, after the holidays are over, you'll probably have a lot more people what's the word I'm looking for? searching for your product because people are redeeming gift cards, and the week after Christmas and then the first couple of weeks of January tend to be heightened traffic on Amazon. So now's a good time to start testing out other things and other keywords, but I wouldn't give up on sponsored products just because sponsor brand video is doing better. All right, so then we get the question. Asif Khan asks, can we control the cost per click in sponsored display campaign because our CPC is it's currently $5. That's pretty high. The product is only $13. I would venture to say you definitely want to lower that. Don't know enough about this product, but if you think about that, if you have 100% conversion rate, meaning every single person that clicks buys, 5 divided by 13, that means you have a 38% ACoS. Now, if that means 1 of every 2 people buy, which is a 50% conversion rate, that means you would have a 76% ACoS. So that seems really high. I would suggest get very uber targeted. If you want to go after sponsored display, get uber targeted over, like, let's say you only want to show up on very particular pages, maybe ones with less than 4 stars, higher prices, things where you have some sort of advantage. And I would bid a lot lower. There's no reason to bid $5. Maybe Amazon tells you the suggested bid is $5. They're doing that not for your benefit, but for theirs. Your what's the word I'm looking for? Your goals and Amazon goals are not dissimilar. Like, they're not going in 2 completely different directions. They overlap, but they're not aligned. Meaning Amazon wants to get sales, you want to get sales. But as I was mentioning before, Amazon just wants sales. So whether you get the sale or someone else's, they don't care. And that's not to be mean. It's just the nature of their platform. And so they're looking to maximize every dollar that they can get from every sale. And so if they suggest a $5 bid, that means suggest a $5 bid. But there's no sense donating money just for the sake of donating money to Amazon's bottom line. So I can pretty much guess a $13 product at $5 bid is nowhere near profitable. And I don't think it's going to even be helpful enough to go after. So I would lower your bids and be very hyper targeted as to laser focused on what you're targeting, or just not do sponsored display. That would be my suggestion. All right. Amit Trivedi asks, I don't have PPC question, but I'm hoping it's okay to ask non-PPC questions. I'm almost out of inventory and my new inventory is waiting for Amazon to accept goods. Any recommendation on what to do? Oh, I hate that. Yeah. So I don't know about anyone else watching this, but like, I'm starting to already see earlier than I normally do, like my pending orders just piling up. Then I also have stuff sitting on a dock, and I also have stuff in fulfillment center transfer. So this is that time period where Amazon's just they have a lot of activity they're trying to get done between now and the holiday season. So they're trying to like get inventory placed and whatnot. They're trying to check stuff in. So a couple things you could do is, I have found sometimes if I'm in Seller Central on that, the shipment screen, and let's say I know it's been delivered, but it says like in transit. If you go into the shipment and go to the tracking, and you see on there that it's arrived, it's showed like UPS or as long as this is a partner carrier, that if it's LTL, that it shows as delivered, then sometimes they're more likely to check it in quicker. I've noticed over the years, this is totally anecdotal. I don't have any data to support this, but sometimes then when you go back to the shipment screen, it won't show as in transit, it'll show as delivered. And magically it gets checked in. Now, keep in mind, don't get too excited when it gets checked in, because when it gets checked in, it will oftentimes be shifted all over the country in fulfillment center transfer. So you also have to contend with that. So just know that's an issue that happens every year. There's not much you can do about it other than to say for next year, make sure you get your inventory in sooner, which I know it's hard because sometimes you're trying to guess, like, how much am I going to sell? Maybe you did better than you were expecting, which is good news. I know the follow-up question, which might be PPC related that you might be wondering, or some people might be wondering, is do you go out with a bang and go with, really high, sales on the way out with higher velocity, or do you try to make it profitable? I tend to lean to try to make it as profitable as possible. I'm like, I don't want to, run out of inventory and be at a high ACoS. So maybe I'm willing to slow down the sales a little bit, but you got to take your own decision on this and what you want to do. Now, the good news is the holiday season, so you're probably going to run out no matter what, which is actually not good news. But the good news is you'll probably recover fairly quickly. So hopefully they check this in and get going. And then what also happens a lot of times with the holidays is you'll have competitors that start running out. So you might be able to get back into your whatever your ranking was earlier or more quickly because your competitors are probably running out as well. So that's a good thing that could happen. All right. So Umed says, I think I already answered this question on another platform. All right. So Sam K says, I know it's not a PPC question, but is merging a parent and child page that got messed up because I used the template to do some partial updates? Can you guys help with that? I'm assuming so, yes. I don't know that I had the full picture of exactly what happened, but if you go to myamazonguy.com, share my screen, and you could go to services. For this one, I would suggest what you could do is where did we put this? We just recently changed this. You could do troubleshooting hours. That's what I was looking for. All right. So you can packages of 5 or 11 hours of troubleshooting where our team could handle this for you. That would be my suggestion. We do catalog problems, parentage issues, things like that. And if you're not sure, you can always reach out to our team here and just ask, like, hey, this is my issue. Am I buying the right thing? So just to make sure that before you spend money, that you're purchasing the right service. But yeah, we do stuff like that all the time. We like to say we specialize in catalog issues here at My Amazon Guy. All right. So Tushar says, what is better, campaign level or account level budget cap? And then VCPM, what are my views on VCPM campaigns? VCM campaigns are known to be inflated. I wouldn't do them. I know earlier I said Amazon at the end of the day is really kind of charging on a cost per mil basis because it's really, if you do the math, everything kind of, you can just play with the algebra and come up with what your CPM is, because they want, of all the impressions that show up, they want to get a certain amount of sales out of it and a certain number of clicks that they're monetizing as ads. VCPM, oftentimes, to make it look better, they attribute a lot of sales to VCPM that a lot of folks don't believe is actually a sale that came from VCPM. It's just, they viewed it and then later on they bought. So we'll just credit the sale to that. And so it's more of a but in spite of than a because of the people made the sale. So I would say VCPM, do every other type of ad type you can on Amazon before you get into VCPM. Because there's so many other things you could do that are directly attributable to a sale before you start getting into VCPM. So that's my suggestion there. And as far as campaign level or account level budget caps, I would always go with campaign level, because if you think about it, different campaigns are going to perform differently. And so for one, always have the mindset of your number one lever you're going to pull is not your budget, like it would be on Facebook or Google Performance Max or somewhere else. Your number one lever is your bid. So bid is where you go to make the changes, because on Amazon, you could have a $1 million a day budget. I don't even know if they let you put in a number that big, but let's say you have a $10,000 a day budget. You might spend $12 because what was in there, that's all it could show up for, because maybe just not enough people were searching for whatever the search terms were, or not enough, or you weren't bidding enough, or they just didn't think your product was relevant enough, so it didn't show up enough. So if you run out of budget, you'll just stop. So maybe at 3 o'clock, your ads just stop running, but maybe more people buy it, in the evening. So don't run out just because you ran out. So that's before you even get into the budgets. So budget, in my opinion, is just a guardrail. So, if you think about it, like if you're going around a mountain and you're on a highway and a mountain and it's, curvy, the guardrail is to prevent you from falling over. Your brake and your accelerator, which is kind of like your bid, is what's going to give you the best control, and your steering wheel, of course, is going to give you the best control over where your car actually goes. So that's your bid. And then to make sure you don't fall off a cliff and then spend way more money than you were hoping to, that's what your budget is. So to now get into, should you focus on account or campaign level, I would always focus more on the campaign level. Account level is just basically another guardrail. But the problem with that is, let's say you have 20 campaigns and 10 of them are doing really well and 10 of them aren't. Well, just focus on your bids and your budgets on the 10 that aren't doing well to decrease those, and do more bids and budgets on, or increase your bids and budgets on the ones that are doing well, So the ones that aren't doing well, focus on them as to lower those, and focus more of your money individually on the campaigns that are doing well. Because if you do account level, once you reach the account level budget, you're done. So if you reach your account level budget at 3 o'clock and you have these campaigns and these keywords that would have done well, you miss the opportunity for the rest of the day. So that is my suggestion. Sometimes I will use a portfolio. This is something I don't hear a lot of people talk about. It's very manual. I will sometimes use a portfolio that I call cost containment. So I will create a portfolio called cost containment. And let's say on a weekly cadence, I go in and I update my campaigns in my account. Sometimes I will throw campaigns into cost containment portfolio. Then I will, because unfortunately, you can't give a daily budget. You can only give a time period budget. So I have an assistant who every day goes in and just, depending on the time of the year, she will increase day by day whatever that portfolio's budget is. So that's one way of creating another guardrail that doesn't hurt the overall account with the campaigns that are doing well, and just the ones that aren't doing well, I don't have time to kind of get to and really dive into. So I'm not spending too much on those. I put them into a portfolio and give them their own budget. Like that portfolio has a budget. So it's kind of a hybrid of what you're talking about here. So hopefully that made sense and helped. All right. So Omar Javed says, very well explained to the joke. Wakas Latif's question. That was probably our first question at the beginning. I also figured out that after a few sales on the, we haven't, they added more detail here. Very well explained the Waukes's questions. I'm doing what you said, but the issue is after a few sales, my auto campaign stops getting sales on that keywords. Is that something, or what do you suggest? So basically the question earlier was about, hey, I've got this keyword and it's doing better in the auto campaign than it is in the manual campaign. And my stance was, so be it. If you're getting more sales in auto campaign, more sales in the auto campaign. If you're not getting the sales anymore in the auto campaign, maybe it's because you raised your bid in the manual campaign, and now the manual campaign's kind of now front and center, or just the algorithm just decided, hey, we're just going to give more impressions to this one. Why? No one really knows. It just happens that way sometimes. So to answer your questions, what would you do if now all of a sudden you're not getting as many sales in the auto campaign? I would take a look at, go into like your product targeting. So, whether it's, close match, loose match, complement, supplements, in those, start dialing in your bids. You're not going to necessarily know which one's which, but you could at least start, dialing those in, because maybe close match is doing well, but the substitutes is not, or whatever the case is. So take a look at those, dial in your bids there. But if you're still getting sales and they're still profitable for that particular keyword in both places, even if one's getting more than the other, so be it. That would be my suggestion. Is sometimes it is what it is. The algorithm and its infinite wisdom decides, I like this campaign more than this, and no one knows why. All right, David Bermudez asks, hi, I'm relaunching after 2 months out of stock with a product with great results. It costs me a lot to rank again, and the same have been very minimal, and I'm spending very much a PPC. What can I do? So I'm launching after 2 months of being out of stock. All right, so this person was out of stock for 2 months, which, yikes. But you're back in stock for the holiday season, so that's good. It's costing me a lot to rank again, and the same have been very minimal. And I'm so basically spending a lot more money, but not seeing the same results that they were seeing earlier. Now, some of this could be seasonal. For the last week or so, you tend to get a lot more window shoppers. So people leading up to Black Friday, Cyber Monday, or sometimes just they're watching the Detroit Lions and the Dallas Cowboys after eating turkey, and on Thanksgiving, they're not buying stuff. They're just like tap, 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 click, search. They're just killing time, or they're deciding, what am I going to buy for people? So instead of walking around a mall, is what we used to do. People still do that, but people now, instead of walking around a mall or Sears or whatever to window shop, they window shop on their phone. And window shopping on the phone oftentimes is clicking around, and they don't care whether it's sponsored or not. They're not thinking, oh, wow, this person might have to pay for this click. They're just like, oh, this looks interesting. A lot of people don't even know that what they're clicking on is sponsored. So just know that the past week or so on Amazon is not always the best week with PPC costs, especially if you're not used to that. So you may have had a lot more window shoppers than you will the next week or so. So the last 2 weeks will not necessarily be indicative of the next 2 weeks. So that's something to think about. And then as far as, you're spending a lot of money, it kind of is what it is, but if you're doing well before, I tend to find it will catch back up, especially this time of year, because as you get closer to Christmas, people they're not window shopping. They are buyers. They're serious, because I got to get stocking stuffers. I got to get this. I got a plane coming up. I got to make sure it gets there in time. I got to do this. They're stressed out. They got holiday parties. They got all this stuff. I got to get this off my list. I got to buy. So like there's less thinking, casual shopping around. They're buying. So just keep in mind, oftentimes that will help you. So if you were doing well before, you oftentimes will do well going into the bulk of the holiday season, which hopefully will then carry you into the new year. So hopefully that does well, because there's more impressions, more clicks, more sales. So it's more opportunities to get that flywheel spinning again in your favor. All right, so next up, what do we have? Shakid Obad says, I want to test 2 different videos because I've sorted my keywords. Oh, this is based on you had different keywords, or you had 2 different sponsor brand videos with the same keywords in 2 different campaigns. Okay, that makes sense. I've sorted my keywords based on different buyer intents. My strategy is to create PPC videos tailored to each buyer intent, and that's why I was asking to avoid cannibalization. I honestly wouldn't worry about cannibalization here. because at the end of the day, people are going to respond however they're going to respond. So if you have videos that go after different customer intents, like, hey, do more addition, or hey, do more division, and maybe that's how, like, which is probably not how people are searching for calculators, but whatever it is, certain keywords will lend themselves to certain intent more than another. And over time, the algorithm will favor whichever keywords are getting better in, or doing better with certain intents. So they will show up in the campaign that has the video that matches that intent. So I wouldn't worry too much about this, because you have this differentiating factor of the two different videos. So that is going to have a big factor into which keywords get most impressions. And if some keywords get impressions in both, great. And hopefully you're making sales in both. And if they're not, then adjust your bids accordingly, would be my suggestion. So hopefully that helped. All right. Next up, David Bermudez asks, how good or bad can affect changing my main image with Christmas ornaments feel? Oh, be careful. So you're basically talking about putting like a little ornament to make sure it's giftable. It might be more likely to get flagged. Depends on your category that you're in. So basically make it kind of feel Christmassy and giftable. I would say definitely, if it lends itself to, like, this would get people to buy more, maybe put it in the secondary images. I don't know that I would do it in the main image, my personal opinion. Some people might disagree with me on that. You could always test it out. Worst case scenario, they don't let you use it, is kind of my thought. And so they would either automatically revert to your previous image, or your listing would get suppressed, and then you can just change the image and it'll be back up and running quickly after that. But that's my thought anyway. All right, so then Gular Reyes Ali says, how we can increase PPC conversion rates besides listing optimization. Well, I believe, as I was saying earlier, it's in Amazon's world, you got to think, let me take a step back. As Zig Ziglar would say, you can have anything you want in life as long as you help enough people get what they want. So it's about what does the customer want, but also what does Amazon want. So the algorithm is deciding, is this gatekeeper deciding who shall get the impressions and who shall not, who shall be at the top of the page and who'll be at the bottom of the page, who gets, the first carousel at the beginning of the carousel on the listing page, and who's like, you scroll 7 times to finally find it. So the algorithm is deciding who gets, favorable impressions and who does not. And so the algorithm is looking at it, not just listing optimization conversion rates on the page, but somebody types in garlic press, which are more likely to end up in a sale. They're looking at it, I think, that conversion rate. So yes, the middle step is click. Now, as we would say, it's easier to triple your click-through rate than it is to triple your conversion rate on the page, unless your conversion rate is just really bad. So on the page, you do things like A+ content, make sure that you've got good copywriting, although keep in mind, copywriting is not just for people, it's also for the bots. So if the bots understand your product, it will better showcase it to relevant keywords. And so I would focus on that. But then also your main image is your best thing, or your best lever you can pull to get people to click more. So is there anything you can do to improve your main image? We do have a main image service here at My Amazon Guy. $100, we would create you a new main image, which you can just go to myamazonguy.com, and that's on our website. All right. So that would be my suggestion. All right. Then Tushar Hardia says, never negate a good keyword, but what if keyword is good and relevant, but performing poorly on auto and broad campaigns, like getting sales at a very high ACoS? What do you do? All right. I get this question a lot. And sometimes people say, but this is a good keyword. So a good keyword is voted by one thing. This is my wallet. So did the person pull out their credit card? Probably shouldn't pull that out. Anyway, did the person pull out their credit card, and did they buy? And if they didn't, then it's not a good keyword. So one of the best ways to look at this is oftentimes sellers like to think, okay, what is relevant? Because it seems like that keyword would be relevant. And the keyword has a lot of search traffic, so it must be a good keyword. But maybe there's established brand name players that have 20,000 plus reviews and you have 10 reviews. I don't know that reviews are necessarily a ranking factor, other than the fact that people are more likely to click on and purchase products with more reviews. So you have that going against you. One example I like to give, which let me pull up Amazon again, is, so this is a dry erase marker. So let's just look at markers would be a good keyword. I'm going to bet it has lots and lots of search traffic. But let's look at what shows up on page 1. So crafting markers, crafting markers, crafting markers, Crayola crafting markers, kind of like you'd use for school. These are probably crafting markers, a lot of crafting stuff. So it's like Crayola and then crafting stuff. Permanent markers for office. Now we're starting to get into like office supplies down here. Some Sharpies. This is kind of more crafting. There's a lot of crafting and office supply and school supply type markers. Okay, now we finally see a dry erase marker. But if I look at, let's say, dry erase markers, I see a bunch of dry erase markers. Like they're not all Expo, which is like the name brand. They definitely kind of dominating the organic placements. But you got to ask yourself, is your product basically a dry erase marker? So you got to go a little bit more long tail to show up relevantly? Or are you going after markers, which has a completely different search intent because it looks like it would be relevant? So ask yourself that honest question. And if it still is relevant, like you're basically going after the equivalent of dry erase markers and you're selling dry erase markers, maybe you have to go for red dry erase markers. Maybe you have to go for red dry erase markers set of 3 or whatever it is you're selling. And you have to get real hyper targeted and specific, which will not show up as much. But once you start getting more sales, then maybe Amazon will start branching out into less hyper specific keywords that you'll show up more for, because you got to look at, like, the algorithm does not care. It is purely looking at numbers. Search, did they buy? Search, did they buy? Search, did they buy? They're going to showcase what's most relevant, and what's relevant is not, hey, how much, did the seller put into creating this product? Does the seller have a good heart? Are they a nice person? It is cold, and it's, did they click and did they buy? And so what is most likely to get people to click and buy? And that's the keywords you need to go after, and not necessarily relevant because it seems relevant because maybe you have competitors that are showing up for it. Maybe you will over time, but maybe now is not the right time. So relevant is only relevant if customers vote with their wallets. All right, so then what else do we have? We probably have time for one more. Question. So Multicore Media says, what's the global strategy for today? Day after Cyber Monday, drop bids and budget slightly? No, I'm not. If anything, people aren't looking for deals as much. And so we are now, one of the things to keep in mind, which if you're looking at last year, the day after Cyber Monday would have been November 28th. This year, November 28th was Thanksgiving. Everything is pushed forward a few days, just the way, because this year is a leap year. And then Thanksgiving is always the fourth Thursday of November. So Black Friday and Cyber Monday are, of course, right after Thanksgiving. So everything is compacted. So we're already accelerated into December. So I wouldn't lower your bids. I would expect that you should do better today than you did the day after Thanksgiving last year, at least in my experience. I have always found December does better than November. Even Black Friday, Cyber Monday, when both of those fall in November. And this year, Cyber Monday fell on December 2nd. So here we are December 3rd. I wouldn't worry about lowering your bids proactively. I would only do it reactively. Like, give it a couple more days or however much, data. If you're, spending $1,000 a day in ads, maybe you could, optimize every day. If depending on how much you're spending, maybe you don't need to optimize every day, but I would let the data dictate to you what decisions you're going to make, then say, oh, Black Friday's over, Cyber Monday's over, so it's over. The holiday season is not over. Most people have not bought most of their gifts. There's a lot of shopping to be done between now and really December 22nd, because December 22nd, there's still going to be products that will have December 24th delivery dates, and even December 23rd. So I tend to find once you get to about 15th or the 19th, somewhere in there, you're going to peak, and then it's going to start to slow down a little bit. For some people, it might be a little bit sooner in the season, depending on your product and how much your product is kind of like one of those, like, I don't know what else to buy, I'll just buy this. My products tend to fall in that category for whatever reason. So I would not proactively turn off the spout or lower your bids and budgets at all. If anything, I would keep my foot on the gas, and if not, gas it more. So, because there's probably a lot more going on. Because again, people tend to be very focused on deals on Black Friday, Cyber Monday, because they have time. As we get deeper and deeper into the holiday season, they have less time and they just need to buy. So your best ACoSs of the year will probably be in the mid-December time period. If you're well optimized, and of course, things, and you have good targeting of your keywords, but you'll probably do really well mid-December, just because they're not as much looking for deals. They just need, okay, Sally likes this, so I'm going to buy Sally this. I got to get my cousin something, so click buy. I don't have time because they're overwhelmed. They have so many other things they're doing in the month of December. The shopping, they just need to check it off the list. Everything shopping for people becomes less and less even about feelings and deals. It's more of checking things off a checklist, and so that works in your favor as a seller because they just want to start buying stuff. And so as you get closer and closer to Christmas, it becomes just buy. So I would say, unless you have a product that's like didn't do as well as you were hoping, and maybe you need to like kind of ramp up the sales, maybe you lower your price or whatever. I personally am planning on doing more increasing bids and raising prices as we get closer, just to eke out as much sales and as much profitability as we get closer to the holiday season. So that's my 2 cents. So, all right. So with that, I'm going to go ahead in this live stream. Thank you, everybody. It was great seeing everyone. Lots of great questions, and we will see you at the next one.